The racial wealth gap is the difference between the value of the net property owned by blacks versus the value of the net property owned by whites. Essentially, in the aftermath of slavery, blacks in the United States were estimated to have 1% of the nation's wealth. And of course, that was a very small proportion of the nation's wealth and was held virtually exclusively by black folks who had been free prior to the Civil War. There was a first attempt to provide reparations to the formerly enslaved, which was to take the form of the provision of 40-acre land grants. That effort was completely derailed by President Andrew Johnson, who succeeded Lincoln. And so, from my perspective, that's when we first have the origins of the modern racial wealth gap, the deprivation or denial of the formerly enslaved any form of restitution at the end of their time of bondage. There were mass lynching, or what we might refer to as massacres, that took place in a number of communities throughout the United States, particularly communities where black people had begun to experience some degree of prosperity. In the summer of 1919, there was an extensive wave of these massacres during what was called the Red Summer. At the time of emancipation, blacks collectively owned about 1% of the nation's wealth. Today, it's less than 3%. The core explanation for black-white disparities in the United States, particularly the wealth disparity, is structural rather than being a consequence of dysfunctional behavior on the part of black folks. Blacks and whites actually have similar savings rates. And in some income categories, blacks actually have higher savings rates than whites. Black folks are no more profligate than anyone else, but we sure have a whole lot less wealth. So let's hang in there and keep on with the struggle. And if we had an appropriately designed program where the objective was to build black assets so that the black wealth position was comparable to our share of the national population, that would be earth-shattering. That would be a world changer.